In the year 2154, Jake Sully, Sam Worthington, a former U.S. Marine paralyzed from the waist down due to wounds sustained in combat, is selected to participate in the Avatar program. Originally, the position was supposed to be filled by his identical twin brother Tom Sully, who was recently killed by a man who attempted to rob him of his money. Arriving from the 6-year journey from Earth to Pandora, Jake awakes from cryosleep with hundreds of other personnel to work at the human colony on this inhabited moon of Polyphemus, one of 3 fictional gas giants orbiting Alpha Centauri A. Jake meets with Colonel Miles Courage, Stephen Lang, a hardened and seasoned military veteran who is in charge of security on the colony. Courage welcomes the new personnel and military soldiers and briefs them on Pandora. It is mostly covered with lush rainforests and wildlife, and home to the primitive Navi, a sentient race of tall, blue-skinned humanoids. The colony personnel and military are under the jurisdiction of the Resources Development Administration, RDA, a non-governmental organization back on Earth. Jake is introduced to Norm Spellman, Joel David Moore, a biologist who arrived on the same rotation of personnel as he did, and Dr. Grace Augustine, Sigourney Weaver, a botanist as well as the leader of the Avatar program, which allows humans to control avatars, which are genetically engineered human Navi hybrids who look like Navi. Using the avatars, Grace and her team have made some considerable progress teaching some Navi their ways in English as well as learning their language and culture. Grace is not pleased with RDA Administrator Parker Selfridge's, Giovanni Ribisi, decision to use Jake to replace his brother's avatar position, as she will have to spend time training him in Navi culture as well as teaching him how to control his avatar. Parker stresses that the RDA needs to mine the extremely valuable mineral unobtainium, which can be found in huge deposits on Pandora. Meanwhile, Courage makes Jake his informant to gather information on the Navi and their home, the home tree, Kalutral, which has huge deposits of unobtainium buried deep below its surface. He wants Jake to gain their trust and convince them to leave their home within 3 months. After being trained for several weeks in his new body, Jake, Grace and Norm explore the native wildlife with Trudy Chacon, Michelle Rodriguez, a retired Marine pilot who is assigned to ferry them to their location. While Grace and Norm study the wildlife, Jake encounters a group of hammerhead titanotheres, a rhinoceros-like animal species. However, the titanotheres flee from a Thanator, Polylucan, a terrifying land predator. Grace shouts at her group to flee. Jake runs from the Thanator, who is after him, and loses most of his equipment and weapon in the process. He narrowly escapes death from the predator and falls into raging rivers below. As darkness falls, Jake creates a fire torch using a sap substance on the trees, and once more runs and fights a large group of small-sized viper wolves, Nantong. A female Navi named Neytiri, Zoe Saldana, rescues him and kills several of the viper wolves before they all flee. Neytiri is at first angry with Jake for having caused her to kill the viper wolves needlessly and leaves him. Jake goes after Neytiri, who tells him not to follow as she knows he is an avatar hybrid, a dreamwalker from the Sky People. Meeting Itukan, Wes Studi, and Moa, CCH Pounder, the leaders of the Omadakaya clan, who are also Neytiri's parents, Jake presents himself as a warrior and Quat, dreamwalker and Quat, a term the Navi used to call the avatar hybrids, with his intention to learn from them. Itukan and Moa agree to teach Jake, making a reluctant Neytiri his tutor. From that day on, Jake spends his time learning the ways and culture of the Navi warriors, while jumping back to his original human body to report to Parker and Courage on information regarding the aliens. Grace arranges the movement of the Avatar team to a remote camp in the Halijuya Mountains after finding out from Dr. Max Patel that Jake has been having regular communications with Courage about the Navi. In his avatar form, Jake learns how to bond and control his flying mountain banshee, while gaining respect and admiration from the Navi, his relationship with Neytiri continuing to grow, but also earning the jealousy and annoyance of Suti, Laz Alonso, Neytiri's betrothed and next in line to be the clan leader. Reporting back to Courage, the colonel wants Jake to begin his plan to convince the tribe to leave the home tree, but Jake is now reluctant and weary of his fellow humans to exploit the moon's resources. He tells Courage that he will attempt to convince the tribe once he is made part of the people. Jake and Grace are suddenly sent back to their human bodies when soldiers sent by Courage arrive and open their link units to take them back by force. Courage and Parker have seen footage of Jake destroying the bulldozer's cameras and have checked his entry logs, indicating him as losing interest to participate in the plan as well as committing possible treason. Grace tells an unbelieving Parker that the trees and plant life make up a huge network which connects the spiritual consciousness of all life, including the Navi, and must not be destroyed. Given a chance to attempt a final plea to the tribe to leave their home, Jake and Grace return to their avatar forms, but the Navi refuse to listen after Jake reveals he was sent by his superiors to convince them to move. They are bound and labeled as traitors by the Navi who intend to defend themselves. A large strike force led by Courage destroys the home tree, firing incendiary rounds that topple it to the ground, while killing large numbers of the tribe, despite their attempts to retaliate. Moa releases Jake and Grace from their bonds and pleads them to save her tribe. Itukan is killed in the destruction, leaving Neytiri devastated. She tells Jake to stay away when he tries to comfort her. Jake and Grace are sent back to their original bodies to be placed under arrest for treason, along with Norm, who tried to stop the military from disabling their avatar forms. Trudy Chacon rescues the avatar team from prison and flies them to safety. However, Grace is shot by Korich when he attempts to stop them from leaving the colony. The team has the camp container holding the avatar transfer pod sent near the Tree of Souls, where the remaining Omadakaya tribe has fled to safety. Jake makes his intention to redeem himself in the eyes of the Navi and successfully tames and controls a great Leonopteryx, an enormous flying creature related to the Banshee, making him the 6th Tauric Makto in Navi history. Jake makes a plea to Moa to save Grace from dying. This is done by trying to have her consciousness transferred permanently into her avatar form, using the Tree of Souls, before her human body expires. However, it is too late, as Grace is too weak to be transferred. Before she passes away, she tells Jake that she's seen